This is a question I'd like to show you how to solve. Uh, it's from your Chapter 2 practice questions. And not only would I like to show you, how this particular question is solved, but I'd like for you to just get a sense of how you should be solving multiple choice questions of this nature. So before you read the entire question, my recommendation is to read the very last line. See what the question wants you to do. And so I like to first start with reading what the question wants me to solve for and then read the rest of the question. So here it says, if the owner's equity on December 31, 2006 was 6,700 and dividends of 1,400 were paid during 2007, determine the additional investments, if any, that the owner made in the business during 2007. So when you look at the question, it's essentially asking you to find out the additional investments. And if you recall in Chapter 1, we looked at a situation where we were given a formula for how to determine equity from the beginning of the period to the end of the period. And so we had started with beginning equity plus additional investments plus net income, which is essentially revenues minus expenses minus dividends, gives you ending equity. So it seems like I can use that formula here. And so the additional investments is missing, and so I really need to have all other variables. So the way I'm going to start solving this problem is by looking at what information they've given me. They've told me that the asset, liability, revenue, and expense accounts in the ledger of Mickey Mouse Company on December 31, 2007 are listed in alphabetical order, and all accounts have normal balances. So I have been given assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses, and I know that I have also been given the owner's equity as of December 31, 2006, which is essentially my beginning equity, because this is information for 07. So from this information, I have assets, I have liabilities, I know I can find out ending equity. So I can also take a look at my revenues and expenses and find out net income. So I'm going to first start identifying these items for what they are and then take it from there. So I'm going to use this format to solve the problem. I already know the beginning equity. It was given to me in the problem. As of 12/31/06, it was 6,700. I have to find out the additional investments. I have been given the dividends in the problem. Dividends that were paid were 1,400. So I really have to come up with the net income and the ending equity. So to come up with net income, I need revenues minus expenses. To come up with the ending equity, since I haven't been given it, I use my accounting equation, assets equal liabilities plus equity, or stated differently, assets minus liabilities is equal to equity. And so from the information they've given me above, I'm going to start identifying the items as either assets, liabilities, revenues, or expenses, and then I'm going to find out net income and then the ending equity. So I take a look at each item, and I have gone ahead and identified each item for what it is and labeled it accordingly. Accounts payable, liability, accounts receivable, asset, cash is an asset, equipment is an asset, fees earned is revenue, insurance expense is an expense, land is an asset, store supplies is an asset, unearned rent is a liability, and wages expense is an expense. So I've gone ahead and identified these items. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up the different categories. So if I add up total assets as of 12/31/07, I get 14,900. So I've just picked up all the ones that marked A and I get 14,900. Likewise, I added up all the liabilities and I got 4,700. And so since I have assets and I have liabilities, I can find out equity, and my equity will be the difference between these two numbers, and my equity is 10,200. Next, I'm going to take my revenues and my expenses. So wherever I've marked revenue, which I have just one, is 6,000. Total expenses are 2,800. So if I subtract revenues and expenses, subtract my expenses from my revenues, I get net income of 3,200. So now I have the other two missing items in that format that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to just plug it in right there. And so now the only thing left to find out is additional investments. I can easily solve for the x. 6,700 plus x plus 3,200 minus 1,400 is equal to 10,200. And therefore x will be equal to 1,700, and as such my answer will be C in the above multiple choice question. So this would be my answer, C. Right there, 1,700.